With Scarlet and Violet on the horizon, a brand new TCG set, I figured that I should probably take a look at some of the cards that I've missed out on over the last 126 or something days since I've last made a video. Don't count them. This one is one that I've been having a lot of fun of in the last couple of days, and that is Regigigas V-Star. A 300 HP normal type V-Star Pokemon is one of the highest HP'd Pokemon in the game at the moment, which is pretty impressive considering the fact that we've got cards like Eternatus VMAX that give away 3 prize cards that only have an extra 40 HP. This card is super bulky, and it's pretty handy as an attacker as well. Its first attack, or its only attack, Giga Impact, for 3 colorless energy does 230 damage, and then we can't attack next turn. Now that's perfectly fine, it's a serviceable attack, and 230 damage is going to knock out a lot of basic Vs and take multiple prize cards, which we really like. Another interesting thing about Regigigas V-Star is its V-Star power, Star Guardian, which says that during your turn, if your opponent has exactly 1 prize card remaining, you choose one of your opponent's benched Pokemon, and then they discard it and all cards attached to it, which can sometimes lead to situations where you take a knockout and remove a potent attacking threat from your opponent's side of the field to leave them with nothing going into the last turn of the game. Now, obviously, I mentioned that Regigigas isn't necessarily in the deck because it is an attacker. Instead, we are going to treat it as a defensive tank. With cards like V-Guard Energy and Sharon's Care, we can really create mayhem with this particular Pokemon, stopping our opponent from taking knockouts, and then picking Regigigas and all of the cards attached to it back up with Sharon's Care after it's been damaged. Now, you might say, Mitch, it's got a 3 energy attack cost. V-Guard Energy only provides 1 colorless, and that's 100% true. We need a way to get these energies onto Regigigas, and we might, use some acceleration. We might use grass acceleration with whatever supporter it is that accelerates grass energy. I can't even remember, it's been that long since I've played, but instead I decided that we would go, well, I didn't decide, I figured that I would use a deck that goes with the old faithful kind of Lost Box engine. This one here comes from Henry Brand, where essentially we can power up Regigigas on the bench, we can use Comfey and Cramorant to try and mitigate those turns where we don't have the energy, and then later we can attack with Regigigas. Cramorant, obviously a very good attacker for 0 energy. It means that you can use cards like Sharon, as well as, what's it called, Colress, I think is the name of the card. You can Colress, discard a couple, Lost Zone a couple of cards, go with Flower Selecting, and then Cramorant whilst attaching to a Regigigas on the bench. Now, I think that that is a pretty solid idea. Here is the deck list. Here is the deck list. Oh my goodness. As you see it on the screen, if you'd like to take a closer look, then feel free to pause now. And whilst you're paused, if you could subscribe and like the video, that would be fantastic. Leave a comment of some description. Thank you very much, everyone, for waiting around. I'll do my best to get back to everyone's comments as soon as I can. And if you want to play this deck, then it is in the description. I can't remember if I've said that. It's been a long time since I've done one of these, but we better get started with some games. Well, here I am back on Pokemon TCG Live. I've moved my camera up to above where the prizes are, because if you've played live over the last couple of months, you'll notice that the hand now moves all the way across the bottom of the screen, which is fantastic for playing the game, but not super great for creating content, but that's okay. I might put a little, some little thing around here that shows me off. Or if you think there's a better spot for me to stick my ugly mug, then that's perfectly fine. Maybe I could just slide myself back down here. I could just go over here like this, and it wouldn't even make that big of a deal. To be brutally honest, I might just leave it there. Maybe I'll move it up if I need to show off what my hand is, or something like that. We are playing up against, I don't know what. We've got a Drapion in the active. A Heat Fire Energy suggests to me that we are looking at a Lugia deck, and an Archeops means that we are probably that much closer to discovering what's going on. This Capture Energy is probably going to get a Lugia V, and yes, that is correct. And now we will see if this random Lost Box Regigigas deck can hold its own against what is probably the best deck in the format. I say probably like it's not. It definitely is. Lugia is the best deck in the format. It's the reason that I stopped playing for 3 months, because it just wasn't fun. I just didn't enjoy it, but that's okay. We're gonna see how we go. I am going to attach to the Cram. I'm gonna use Capture Energy, and I'm gonna grab myself a Comfey. We're going to retreat into that Comfey, and then we're gonna use our Flower Selecting ability to allow us to look at the top 2 cards of the deck and Lost Zone 1 put the other into our hand. This is kind of awkward. I think we're going to grab the Scoop Up Net. We'll get rid of the Cramorant, and that means that we can now scoop up the Comfey. We can put the Cram in the active, we can bench the Comfey, we can scoop up the Cram, and then we can use Flower Selecting again. I'm hopeful that we can use another... Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, Battle VIP Pass is pretty solid. I was going to say I'm hopeful that we can use another Flower Selecting here, and it looks like we will be able to. Not only that, we can also play down Regigigas and attach a V-Guard next turn. We've already used the Capture, though, so we can't get another one just yet. Another energy, sorry. We'll have to just hope for Flower Selecting. Marnie's pretty good. Boss, obviously, a good card as well, but we have one in our hand. I think it's going to have to just be this as a turn. We will path to the peak. We might Marnie. Might give us another option. Maybe I go for another Flower Selecting. But realistically, we're relatively happy with what has happened here. We've got pretty much all of the cards that we need. Only 3 in the Lost Zone. So we might just go for another Comfey. You never know. Maybe we can get an attack with Cram here. We can Flower Select. No dice when it comes to our extra attack with the Cram. That's okay. We'll end the turn and we'll leave it at that. Yeah, it's pretty solid, this deck. We've set up relatively well. I would have liked to have gotten a Spit innocently off, but we also have in our hand another card that we could use in this matchup, and that is the Yveltal. This is the Cry of Destruction Yveltal, which allows us to discard special energy cards, something that Lugia obviously plays a lot of, and we're seeing actually just a read the wind from our opponent. Doesn't have a huge amount going on, and that's good for us, because it effectively means that we are playing this game as if this is still our second turn. We can grab ourselves a couple of cards. I'm going to grab the Double Turbo. We don't necessarily need the Zigzagoon here. And then we are going to probably switch into either Cram or the Comfey here. We'll switch into the Cram. It's probably a little safer. We will Spit in us. Actually, no, we should Marnie. We should give him a smaller hand. We'll Marnie. We'll get ourselves a couple of... Oh, Colress is pretty good. I don't mind that at all. And then we can Spit innocently, hit this Lugia for 110, and put ourselves in a very good spot. Now, the 110 damage, obviously, very good, because Lugia has 220 HP, which means that we'll 2-hit this Lugia V. But also, if they evolve into the V-Star next turn, we can theoretically attack with Regigigas V-Star and take a knockout there, which is super, super good. There's only one way that a Lugia can knock out a Regigigas V-Star if we have a V-Guard on, and that is by using Yveltal. Their Yveltal, which will take a knockout straight away. Amazing destruction, amazing rare. Yveltal is the only way that I know of that a Lugia deck can take a knockout on a Regigigas V-Star with a V-Guard. So hopefully... Actually, that's not true. If they had, what? 1, 2, 4, 6, 8. So if they had all 4 powerful colorlesses and a choice belt, then they could also do it. It's worth noting. But it's going to be tough. And they're Pumpkabooing away the path to the peak, which means that they've got access to their ability if they have the V-Star. If they do, they've got a very awkward board here. Looks like we're just going to see a retreat into the Oranguru. It's making me wish that I hadn't discarded that Zigzagoon now, but that's fine. We have Colress, we can use that. And that will get us a Regigigas, a Switch, and also a DTE. I could have grabbed the path there, but I think that this turn we are going to put ourselves in a position where we are capable of winning the game. We're going to Escape Rope. We'll see what they throw into the active. Pumpkaboo seems reasonable. We're going to Flower Selecting. We're going to get ourselves set up just that little bit more here. Air Balloon's very, very nice. I like that. In Lost Zone, another card, and then we'll evolve, we'll attach, and we will switch into our second Comfey. Flower Select. We'll probably Air Balloon and then retreat after that, depending, of course, on what we get from the Flower Selecting. This is not particularly useful to us. We'll just Air Balloon, and then we can retreat. We'll put that Cram in the active and Spit. Actually, we should no, we should just Spit innocently. I was going to say we should bench the Regigigas V, but I don't think we need to. That might be next turn's job. And we've got another Regigigas out of the prizes, which is very, very neat. I was sitting here going, well, I'm going to have a massive hand, but you know what? Me sitting in this corner hasn't actually made that big of a difference, so I'm enjoying myself so far. We'll see how we go. Also, how have you guys been? I feel like I haven't spoken to you in like 4 months. And I don't know why that is. I'm not sure why we haven't spoken in like 4 months, but this is the thing. It just is. It's happened. I've been living my life. Just been doing the same as usual. What's happened? What's happened in my life in the last 3 months? Good grief. I'm moving house, which is very exciting. Not to a new city this time, just to a different place. I played a bunch of regionals, which is very exciting. Played in Brisbane and in Perth. Did well in Brisbane, not in Perth. Sydney Regionals is coming up. I didn't play at Melbourne Internets. It's disappointing. It means I'm probably not going to qualify for Worlds, but that's okay. Yeah, lots is going on. Lots has happened. How are you? I feel like this is a very one-sided conversation. If you could, you know, pull your weight, that'd be great. Also, I don't know how loud I'm talking. Very awkward. Oh, a big sigh from our opponent over here. Pip Lup Lup is not having a fun time with this Luigi deck, and they have bossed up by Regigigas. Now, friend, it's probably not the best move, because now I can just take a knockout. We'll play down the capture energy on the Reggie. We don't need anything else here. He should not have done that. That was not a good move. That's okay. We're going to Colress. We will take the Colress, the Escape Rope, and the double Turbo Energy. And now we have ourselves 2 Regigigases set up and ready to attack. You can see we've slowed this Lugia down fast, or enough, not fast enough. We have slowed this Lugia down enough that they have not been able to get themselves set up. Obviously not going to happen every single time with Lugia, but you know, we're being realistic here. It's definitely something that is a realistic and achievable goal. Because Lugia, you know, sometimes does struggle. And here's an example of it struggling. Only because it has bricked, which I probably, you know... Oh, big thumbs up! It means they've probably conceded, and they have victory. Victory to Regigigas. Let's see if we can get a better game than that. Here we go. We've got Comfy in the active. We can start with a flower selecting. Capture energy is pretty good. I don't like Lost Zoning Boss, but I think we're just going to have to here, because getting a capture energy means that we can use another Comfy this turn. I don't like getting rid of the boss. I want to keep the boss. Get rid of that capture energy. We don't need it. We're going to attach the V-Guard energy instead. We're going to path to the peak, and then we're going to end the turn. I don't think we need to do any more than that. We'll hold on to the Scoop Up Net so that we can Flower Select and Colress next turn, and then we can start attacking with our Cram. Maybe not the best idea in the world, but it's definitely an idea in the world, which is one that, you know, I'm using. It's an idea that I'm using. We'll see if it works out. Looks like our opponent is playing a Lost Box deck of their own, Colress and Comfy coming into play, which means that we could potentially be seeing a Lost Box deck that is worse than Regigigas being played here. I'm very worried about Goodra, though. If Goodra does come into play, I am not necessarily going to be happy, but that's okay. We'll let it ride. We'll see what happens. A flower selecting from our opponent, and they're going to be looking for as many Lost Zoned cards as possible this turn. If they can get 4 into the Lost Zone, then they will be able to attack and knock out this Comfy, which is not ideal in any respect, really. Losing my only way to accelerate through my deck is going to be a bit of an issue. But I will say this much, if you are watching this and you are preparing for the Scarlet and Violet set that's coming out very shortly, then you'll know that Lost Box is probably one of those decks that's going to be sticking around. Based on what I've seen on other YouTube channels as well as through the Japanese tournament system, it looks like Lost Box is going to be very, very good. Mew and Lugia will both still be around the place, so if you've invested into those decks, then don't feel bad. You will still be able to play them. Lugia is going to have to make some significant changes because it's losing almost all of its energy, and also it's losing a lot of its attackers, but that's okay. The effect is still really strong, so you'll be able to use that, and Mew will just continue to be good until it rotates. It's a very, very powerful card, and definitely one that you should keep an eye on. Beyond that, I'm very excited to take a look at decks like Miraidon and Gardevoir EX. I also really want to see if I can get some of the slightly more niche deck ideas working. Thinking like, you know, Wugtrio. I'm thinking about like Torkoal. I'm thinking about Houndstone. I can't remember any of the other ones. I feel like there's another one that I just haven't mentioned that also seems really cool and really fun. I'm not sure what we're going to see first, but I can guarantee you right now, every other channel on YouTube is going to make Miraidon or Gardevoir first. I will not do that. I promise you that. It will either be because I don't make a video or because I do a deck that is more interesting than that. We didn't lose the Comfey, which is really, really good. Our opponent didn't bench a single copy of Cram, which means that we've got a chance now to try and get a Cram of our own. We don't take the VIP Battle Pass. That would be a bad idea. We've got a Capture Energy, which means we can get an attack off, and we can take the V-Guard Energy as well. I like defending this Regigigas if I can, but the Capture Energy is more important because we need to get ourselves a Cram. We will have 4 cards, in the Lost Zone. We've used Flower Selecting, we've used Colress, they're there. We're going to play Path of the Peak just in case our opponent plays something that they, not something that they shouldn't, but something that's interesting and out there. We're going to make sure that that doesn't impact us in any way. We're going to spit innocently into this Comfey, and we are going to take a single prize, which puts us in the lead. And there's another boss. So now I'm starting to regret taking that boss first up, because we probably didn't need to. But you know what? It's fine. If we top deck perfectly and get access to a Regigigas V-Star, then next turn we could actually take a knockout on this Dragonite V. We've got Escape Rope, we've got Boss's Orders. We could theoretically get there if it happens that way. So we'll wait and see. You never know. You never know. You just never know. But yeah, no, so the big long break. Let's talk about the big long break, because it was a very long break. And the reason for that was, initially, I had a lot of work that I needed to do at school, so I did that work. And then, it was the kind of second month of the format, right? It was like November, of that November format. And then, all these new cards just stopped coming out. And there wasn't a set for like 4 months. And so I was like, this is really boring. I don't want to play this anymore. And so I spent time with my family like an idiot. Why would you do that? And yeah, so here I am. But I'm planning on being back a little bit more frequently now. I would like to keep making videos. I'm going to aim for 3, but it doesn't always happen that way. So if you see 3 a week... Oh, we got the Regigigas V! Okay, we're going to be fine. We got the Regigigas V done. I was going to say, I'm going to aim for 3 a week, but we may not get there, because I have a life and other things. So we'll see how we go. Now, I can attack with Regigigas this turn. I think it's probably best to knock out this Dragonite V whilst I can, but my board is very weak. Otherwise, I'm going to just Escape Rope and see what my opponent gives me. There's no chance that they give us the Dragonite. If they do, we can Marnie, play down the Cram and Marnie. If they bring up something else, like if they bring up their own Comfey, then we might choose to just like knock that out. So there's definitely a lot of options here. They're going with the Manaphy. We're going to put the Regi into the active. We're going to boss. We're going to bring out the Dragonite. And we are going to Giga Impact, take the KO on this Dragonite V. And now, with a couple of extra prizes under our sleeves, we are in a position where maybe we can win the game. Now, we are in a bit of strife if our opponent plays into our setup here and attacks us with Sableye and knocks out our Comfey. But to be brutally honest, we're in a position now where Regigigas is going to try and carry us. We really just need 1 attack next turn with Cram, and then we can Giga Impact for pretty much the rest of the game. If we can get the Capture Energy onto one of our Pokemon, we can attack, go from there. It should be all good. Now, if our opponent hits into us here thumping Snore, we could theoretically like top deck Sharon and have a great time of it, but to be brutally honest, we are probably going to be moneying and we'll hunt for some sort of retreat option. Let's see what we get as we go through here. Our top deck is Lost Vacuum, so we don't necessarily want to use that. I don't think so. We might use it actually on the Comfey on the bench. We could Lost Vacuum away their Air Balloon and try and go for a knockout here, but because of Regigigas' Giga Impact stopping us from being able to use our attack, we might be in a position where we need to just get lucky off of a Marnie here. So we'll see what we can do. We've got the energy on the Comfey now, so we can retreat if we do find a single switch out, which this deck plays a lot of. It is, after all, a Lost Box deck, and look at that, we've happened upon one. We've got an Escape Rope, which is really good, because now we can go into our Comfey, we can use Flower Selecting, and then we can attack with Cram, and that could potentially make the difference for us. a single KO with a Cram is very valuable right now. Their Snorlax is going to keep attacking with Thumping Snore every single turn, so we want to try and put as much pressure on as we can. And if we can get another copy of Regigigas into play, which doesn't look like we'll be able to, we could have potentially had a really cool Sharon's play next turn as well. But that's okay. We'll wait and see what happens from here. We've got Spit Innocently into Manaphy, which is super, super valuable. We'll take a prize. We're holding Boss, so if they attack with Snorlax, we can either knock it out with Regigigas of our own or gust around it. Pretty good position for us. And if our opponent does go for a Sableye to potentially knock out the Regigigas, then we've got a Cram, we can take another prize, and that way we probably put ourselves into a winning position overall, because if we attack twice with Cramorant, we should be able to win the game. So you can see, even though Regigigas is the very exciting part of the deck, it is only working because we have ourselves a very strong base to work from. Lost Zone is a good deck. It is a very, very strong engine. And if you haven't already crafted them on PTCG Live, then you should definitely consider doing so. It is a deck that you'll be able to play for at least the next 3, 6, 9 months and will be very, very strong. It is by far the most consistent and most powerful single prize deck in the game right now. And you can add in all these cool attackers. Regigigas, we've done a deck. In fact, the last video I did was on Lost Box with Serperior V-Star, which was not a deck profile that I was planning on making at all, but it happened. So you can see it's definitely a good option going forward. Now, we've got a Sableye in the active. We can just knock that out with Cram if we want to, but I would like to try... Let's just take the knockout. I was going to say, I would like to try and get ourselves another Cram, but I don't know that it's necessarily viable. We could have used Capture Energy, but we would have been very disappointed because it turns out that without prize checking, our Cram was prized. We had a prized Cram, and it happened to be the one that we took. So maybe you need a little bit of luck in this game. Maybe it happens that way sometimes, but hey, that's okay. It's gonna be fine. We've got game in hand. What's the worst that our opponent can do? They're not going to Marnie us. They're not going to Roxanne us. There's no way. No way it happens. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. They just don't Roxanne. They don't Marnie. They didn't do it. Okay, beautiful. So we win. We have a Comfey. We have a Cram. We have a Switch. We have a Boss, which means that we have a Zagan. We are going to be able to take a knockout here regardless of what our opponent does. The Cram can go into the active with the Switch, and then we can boss the Comfey for the game. It just works that way sometimes. You just have the escape rope. It just all works out. They're going to put the Greninja in the active. That's okay. We've got the boss. We can take the knockout on the Pokemon that we want. We could have even knocked out the Oranguru there if we wanted to. Perfect stuff. I cannot recommend this deck highly enough. If you want to play something that's a little bit meta, but still a little bit out there and funky, then Regigigas V-Star is definitely one for you.